morning, good afternoon. Mike Lathrop with B&B Lumber Company and Affiliates. Today's topic is powered industrial trucks, Quarry driving, and electronics policy. When it comes to power industrial trucks, it is the number one cause of fatalities in the industry. There are roughly 61,800 non-serious accidents per year. Accidents most often kill the operator. Do not operate lifts unless you are trained and certified by the company. We have 8 general non-operator rules. The first one being do not hitch rides on forklifts or other vehicles. The second, vehicles always have the right of way. The third, make eye contact with the operator and wait for their signal. The fourth, stay at least a safe distance back, usually about 2 times the height. Fifth, check corner mirrors and go slow. The sixth, never put any part of your body under the forks. The seventh, do not use the lift truck as a ladder. And the final and 8th one, keep travel paths clear and clean up wet, oily, or icy surfaces. There are 8 operator rules. The first being, always wear a seatbelt. The second, operate at a safe speed. The third, use your horn at corners and intersections. The fourth, keep forks and loads low and watch where you're going. The fifth, report maintenance problems immediately and record them on the daily vehicle inspection sheet. The sixth, do not overload or remove unstable loads. The seventh, avoid sudden stops and turns. And the eighth, when you're out of the lift, set your parking brake and lower forks to the ground. Now to elaborate on point 5, our friends at Lift Tech have a message.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Hauser with Lift Tech, and today we're going to talk about fork truck inspection. Okay, so OSHA actually requires that you do a fork truck inspection each shift. So we're going to talk about the things that we need to do. This may be, you may be watching this video because of a new truck that you just received, or this could be your daily truck inspection. So most manufacturers also talk about the daily inspection, and they talk about that in the operator's manual, which we're going to peek at a little bit later. Also, your employer may have an inspection checklist they have you do. With the technology, the checklist could actually be in part of the truck already in the telemetry. So today we're just going to do a regular checklist. Okay. So why is it important to do the checklist? Because of safety. Okay, so if there's something wrong with the truck, we want to find out before we start operating the truck. So not after, not during. So if we do these things that we have on here to check them, and if there is something wrong with the check, we're going to tag that truck out, have somebody get it, fix it before we go back and start to operate it. Okay. Okay, now we're at the front of the truck, and again, we're looking at the forks on the front of the truck. We're looking for any cracks, chips that you can see on the front of the truck. We're looking at the tips of the forks, because sometimes you see cracks or chips or breaks. Also, we want to make sure both forks are level. If the forks aren't level, it could tip the truck. So it's, again, all these things are about the safety of you, the operator. Okay. So we have the carriage where the forks are hung on, and we want to check the heels of the forks, because we check the heel of the fork and make sure it's fastened to the carriage. Also, that's a part where the forks wear a lot quicker, so we want to make sure that that's set. Also, up here with the forks, we have the pins. So the pin is the device that actually holds the top of the fork into the carriage. So we want to make sure those pins are in and set and in position so that the forks don't shift or move while we're picking up a load. Okay. An extension of the carriage, okay, is a backrest extension. And the backrest extension basically is going to keep the load from falling over the forks when the load is raised and into the operator's compartment. So as you can imagine, that's a pretty safe thing we need to make sure is okay. We want to check for breaks, any damage throughout the fork truck backrest extension. Behind the backrest extension, you can see here, we see our mast columns, we see hoses, chains, and again, we want to look at these. We're the operator of the truck, we're not technically the mechanic, so what we're going to do is just look for damage, look for wear, look for things you didn't see yesterday on the truck, okay? And again, if it's a new truck to you, get familiar with the new truck that you're looking at. So we check out the hoses, we check it for if there's any frays on the hoses, we check to see if there's a rub on the hoses, and we go all the way through. You want to make sure you check out all of your hoses, because actually, if there's a rub on the hose, we tag that truck out, and it's not necessarily to just replace the hose, but the mechanics will then dissect the truck to see what's making the rub happen, because there could be something else is not mechanically set to make that happen for you. Also the chains, okay, so we're going to kind of pull the chains a little bit, make sure that there's a little bit of slack there, but not over slack, and then check for breaks in the chain. Make sure there's no parts hanging off. And you can kind of see here all the way up to the top, all the way on the sides. Then we're looking at the mast itself. You can kind of look from the side, make sure everything's even. That's how it started off. That's how we want to make sure all this is even in here. If you go to the back and you're checking all the hydraulic lines, you're checking everything, and you're going to notice if it's a truck that you use on a daily basis, you're going to notice maybe a pile of fluid that wasn't there yesterday. So again, you do this checklist on a regular basis, and that's going to help you out. Okay, the next part we're going to look at here is the actual tire, the wheels on the truck. There's a lot we want to be involved in checking out here. We have the tire itself, okay? The tire, we're going to look for any cuts in the tire. If we see a cut, we're gonna try and figure out if it's a splitting cut or if there's a gapping on it. And again, if we see that, we write that on our checklist. We want to take that truck, put it out of service. What may happen is once the mechanics check that out, they may say, okay, you're all right, and put it back into service. Well, let's let them decide on that. Okay, you're the operator. If you see something that you don't like, you're going to tag that out. So again, on the sidewall, if the tire is worn down, okay, and again, there's different wear levels that we have to worry about. So again, if your tire starts wearing down to a certain level, the mechanics are going to pull that and actually put new tires on for you. All right, so the rest of the things you're going to be looking for is you're looking for separation around the wheel. You want to see if the rim and the tire actually separate. If you see any separation there, again, pull it out of service. You actually are checking all the lugs. Make sure the lugs are in there. Everything part of the rim is all set, and check your ear valve. The fork truck, the pneumatic tires, again, you're going to check ear pressure. This particular one's a solid tire. It's a pneumatic filled tire, so we don't have to check the ear on that. And you may have a cushion tire on your truck, and again, don't have to check the ear on that. But again, you're still looking for any damage on your wheel. Okay, so after the tires are checked, we're going to look at the overhead guard. We're going to check all the framing, everything, make sure everything's secure with your truck. Make sure there's no damage if the truck was hit from the side or it's scraped up, okay? We want to make sure this is all solid. Again, this right here is your overhead guard, your falling object protection, OSHA calls it. So again, you're protected from any load that would come up over the forks, and this is your protection. So we want to make sure that's all secure. So it's on there, it's secure. Kind of check it all the way down, right in through here. Make sure it's all secure. You're checking for breaks and missing parts in the overhead guard. You're also looking to see if there's no additional items added to it, okay? We have lights, we have mirrors, again, put on by a dealer or the manufacturer per the specs. You're okay with that. Okay, you have a handle here. What you want to do is you want to check out all these devices. Make sure they're not cracked or damaged, because everything on your fork truck has to be in good working condition, okay? In addition, on the overhead guards, when you start seeing some more of your warning labels and decals, okay? This one here talks about wearing a seatbelt. It talks about what to do in case the truck does tip over, okay? You have other warning labels on here that we're going to look at a little bit later about, only one person on the truck at a time and stability issues. So again, all the warning labels, decals, there's a warning label on the overhead guard, talks more about the general safety of the truck, okay? So, and we have the operator's manual, and again, it's a requirement to be with the truck, and it's also a requirement for the operator to read the operator's manual. So we're going to leave this here for now. All right, so when we're done checking everything out, again, you go to the back of the truck, and you're checking out all of the overhead guard, all of your lights, the safety lighting, your backup lights, your handles, all of that. We got to check and make sure it's all good looking and secure for the truck safety. This particular truck is a propane truck. What we want to look for is to make sure everything's fastened, secure. We also want to check and make sure our gauges are working in good condition. So again, check the gauge on your truck. You want to make sure the level of the fuel is good. Okay, we want to make sure that the fuel is on. Okay, so now we're going to do that. Also, a couple things, you're going to look for the pin. There's a pin that's part of the base of the truck that's going to lock in the actual tank itself. And also make sure your relief valve is pointing upwards. Make sure your relief valve is pointing upwards, okay? And again, you're gonna see warning decals in different markings on the tank as well. So we're gonna go to the back of the truck now. And on the back you can kind of see where the latch is on here to keep the propane so it doesn't move out. So we want to make sure that that's secure also, okay? Then we kind of check it out, move the lever back, okay? And again, this is how you're going to ultimately change your propane tank, okay? So I'll put this back here. So when you're actually operating the fork truck, again, making sure it's all secure, the tank locked in. Okay, now we're going to check out the engine compartment of the truck, and in order to do so, we're going to have to move our propane tank so we can get back there. So let me just unhook this, okay? And you may have a stationary tank, you may have a swivel tank, or you may have a tank that swivels and then drops down. So again, you're going to move the tank in order to get the seat to tilt back. As well, you may need to adjust your steering column. Push the steering column back, and then reach down for the latch, and we expose the engine compartment. Okay, so inside the engine compartment here, what we do want to do is we want to check for any buildup of debris. If there's dust in there, if there's debris, any scrap, anything, we want to make sure we get that clean, get that out of that area, and keep the truck in service. Okay, so right now we're going to check the oil on this particular truck. I'm going to kind of pull this out. Okay, and just give me a good starting point. Okay, and my oil looks good. And we're going to set that back in there. This particular truck, I'm going to put the seat back down, again, make sure it's all clear and good looking inside, and I'm going to push the brace back and lower the seat. One thing we definitely want to make sure with this truck, as well as electric trucks, is make sure that this is locked down, okay? Because this thing, if the truck is moving, or if the truck has an incident and the seat comes up, it's not going to be good. So we want to definitely make sure this is locked down. For this next part, I'm going to set my clipboard down. Okay, and when we're getting on a fork truck, we want to always get on with 3 points of contact. Okay, so what that looks like basically is make sure that you always are holding onto the truck. All right, we can grab the seat. Okay, there's a bar here, and my foot is on the first step. So I'm going to step up into the truck. Now I have 3 points of contact at least. Now I'm back to 4. Now I'm back to 3. Getting on and off your fork truck with 3-point contact is very important. Okay, people have fallen, tripped off of trucks, so that's, you want to always get on 3-point contact. And while I'm here, I'm going to show you getting off the truck with 3-point contact as well. Again, it would look the same as actually when you get on the fork truck. You can get off the fork truck with 3-point contact as well, the same way you got on. So let me get back up here. Okay. Now the next part we want to do is we want to make sure our safety devices, everything here is in place. Okay. So I want to make sure my seat is good. Okay. So adjust your seat. If you need to go forward, if you need to go back, make sure it's all good there. Also, most importantly, your seatbelt. You can take your seatbelt and make sure you put your seatbelt on. As you're putting it on, inspect it. Make sure that seatbelt is good and it's a safe in good operating condition. Okay. So once you have your seatbelt on, here in your truck, my controls are at a good length, then you can adjust your steering column. Okay, so I take this back, and I can set this all right here, and my steering column's adjusted. That's when I set my mirrors. Okay, so again, some fork trucks have mirrors, some don't. Okay, it's not a requirement, but if they're on there, they have to work. Okay, we use them for checking out our area and make sure it's safe around us. Okay. Once your mirrors are set, everything's good to go. You want to check out your area. Make sure someone didn't step by the fork truck. Check the front of the truck. You're checking behind you. Again, watching out for coworkers and pedestrians. Okay. So what we're going to do next is actually go through what we call a function check. But in order to do that, I have to start the truck. As you start your truck, okay, you're going to look at your control gauges. I'm seeing a digital display here, and you're going to see if any of the lights go on, if there's an error message, and those are the things you're going to look for now. Next thing we want to do is check the functions of our truck to make sure our functions are actually operating correctly and safely. So I'm going to turn the truck on. I'm going to test my horn, my mass. I'm going to make sure my mass is going up and down freely. If I don't hear any different sounds that I don't normally hear, I'm going to look to see if anything looks stressed or if I see any additional leaks or anything from there. In addition, this particular truck has tilt, and it also has side shift. So I'm going to check out all those functions ahead of time. When I'm done with that, I'm actually going to check out my braking. I'm going to make sure that the truck can go forward, and I'm going to steer it a little bit, checking the steering out, and then I'm going to go in reverse. I'm going to reverse the truck, steering a little bit again, checking the braking. Because again, we want to make sure the brakes work before we start our day. So that concludes our walk-around inspection of a fork truck. Thank you for visiting us here at Lift Tech.
The general driving rules. Obey all speed limits, which are 15 miles an hour at the facility and 10 miles an hour inside the gate. Park at authorized locations and stay to the right when driving. In regards to electronic devices, no employees, other than those specifically approved by senior management, are permitted to use a personal electronic device of any kind during production hours. Supervisors and select employees who are permitted are restricted to company use only. Severe consequences for anyone who is allowed to have a phone or device for company use and is caught using it for personal reasons. Personal electronic devices are not allowed on the production floor. They must be left in a personal vehicle, in the break room, or your locker. Lockers are available if they have a pink tag. Put your name and locker number on it and give it to your supervisor or HR team member. For supervisors, there are 6 things to keep in mind. The first, safety leader is handling classroom training and documentation for lift certification. The second, discuss with your employees heavy traffic areas and discuss concerns. Third, inform everyone of locations for battery chargers and eye wash stations. Fourth, observe forklift operations in their daily work and take prompt corrective action to correct careless and unsafe operation. The fifth, be sure that appropriate forklift and attachments are used based on their driving location, size of load, and potential for hazardous atmosphere. The sixth and final, maintain forklifts in a safe condition, free of defective or missing parts through daily visual checks and regular preventive maintenance per enclosed safety checklist. For maintenance and garage personnel, there are 5 things to keep in mind. The first, never get underneath a forklift supported only by a jack or under any part supported only by hydraulic pressure. Install a jack stand or secure block support. Second, lock out the truck by removing and keeping control of the key or by disconnecting the battery while making repairs. If the electrical system will be serviced, you must disconnect the battery before starting repairs. And the third, do not do repairs in areas with potentially flammable or combustible materials. Example would be next to the fuel pump or sawdust bin. The fourth, make sure there's adequate ventilation. The fifth and final, when cleaning a forklift, do not use flammable solvent. Example of that would be diesel or gasoline as a degreaser on any hot parts of the vehicle such as the engine, exhaust, etc. That concludes today's training. Have a safe and wonderful day.